What if we could use 100% of our brain? You've probably heard this before, right? The idea that humans only use 10% of their brains, and if we could unlock the rest, we'd become super geniuses or even have supernatural abilities. It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, but is it true? What would really happen if we could access the full potential of our minds? Let us dive into the brain and see what happens if we could magically unlock all of its power. But first, let's bust that myth of only using 10% of our brain. It's not true. Neuroscientists have debunked it countless times. In reality, we use all of our brains, even when we're sleeping. Different areas of our brain are active at different times, depending on what we're doing, whether we're thinking, moving, or feeling emotions. So, the idea of unlocking some secret 90% is, well, a bit of a stretch. But what if we could use all those areas at their maximum potential? Imagine being able to think faster, recall anything instantly, and process information like a supercomputer. It might sound awesome, but let's break down the science and see how it could play out. First of all, our brain's capacity is already impressive. It's made up of around 86 billion neurons, and each neuron can form thousands of connections, creating trillions of synapses. But even with all this brain power, we're still limited by the way our brains are wired and the way they process information. If we could somehow unlock more of it, we might become more efficient in how we think and how we store memories. We might be able to memorize entire books in a matter of seconds or calculate complex problems in the blink of an eye. Now imagine you could access every memory, every piece of knowledge you've ever learned at the snap of your fingers. No more forgetting where you put your keys or struggling to remember someone's name. With 100% brain power, you'd be able to instantly recall everything. Facts, experiences, languages, anything you've ever learned. Imagine being a walking encyclopedia with a photographic memory, but without the annoying part of actually having to study. But here's the catch. Using more of our brain might come with a few unexpected consequences. Our brains are already highly energy-intensive organs, consuming about 20% of our body's energy. So using more of it all the time would demand a lot more energy. Imagine trying to power up your brain like a supercharged engine. Eventually, you might run out of fuel. If we really started using 100% of our brain, we'd need to find a way to sustain that extra energy demand. Now, let's talk about multitasking. With enhanced brain power, you might think we'd be able to juggle tasks like a pro. Imagine writing an essay, solving math problems, answering emails, and planning your vacation all at once. But is that even possible? Science shows that true multitasking is more of a myth. Our brains don't actually do multiple things at the same time. Instead, we rapidly switch between tasks. So even if we unlocked all the brain's potential, we might not be able to do everything simultaneously without a loss in efficiency. But maybe we'd be able to switch tasks so quickly that it would feel like we were doing it all at once. Another thing to consider is creativity. Unlocking more brain power might help with analytical tasks, but would it make us more creative? Could we tap into a new level of innovation, inventing groundbreaking technologies, writing masterpieces, or creating the next great artwork? While it's possible that we could come up with more ideas, creativity is still deeply tied to how our brain processes emotions, experiences, and connections. Increasing our brain's power might enhance our problem-solving abilities, but it's unclear whether it would make us more creative in the artistic sense. Let's get into emotions. Our emotions come from very specific parts of the brain, like the amygdala. If we could access more of our brain, could we control our emotions better? Could we turn off anxiety, eliminate stress, or even avoid feelings of fear or sadness? On one hand, it would be amazing to have total control over our emotions. But on the other hand, emotions are what make us human. They're a huge part of who we are. If we had the ability to turn them on and off at will, would we lose some of what makes us truly alive? Would we become more robotic, less connected to the world around us? And here's the big question: would we actually become superhuman? Could we gain superpowers like telepathy, telekinesis, or the ability to control objects with our minds? Now, while that's cool to imagine, there's no scientific evidence that suggests we could develop those abilities just by using 100% of our brain. Our brain is amazing, but it's still bound by the physical laws of the universe. So after all this, what's the verdict? What if we really could use 100% of our brain? Well, we'd likely become faster, smarter, and more efficient. We might be able to remember everything and solve complex problems with ease, but it wouldn't necessarily make us perfect. We'd need a lot more energy, and we'd probably still be limited by our biology in ways we can't imagine. Plus, unlocking more of our brain might come with side effects like losing control over our emotions or becoming overwhelmed by the constant flood of information. In the end, the idea of using 100% of our brain is still mostly science fiction. But who knows? With future advancements in neuroscience and technology, maybe we'll find ways to tap into more of our brain's potential and become even more incredible than we are now. Until then, we'll just have to rely on the brain power we've got and maybe try to use it a little more wisely. So what do you think? Would you want to unlock the full potential of your brain? Or is there such a thing as too much brain power? Let me know what you think in the comments below.